Salam Baku, hello and welcome to Paddock Pass 2017 Azerbaijan Grand Prix pre-race edition. And it is the Azerbaijan Grand Prix this year, not the European Grand Prix. So welcome to the first ever Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Welcome to the paddock. It is honestly fabulous to be back here in Azerbaijan, a country and a city in Baku that I think we all really enjoyed coming to for the first time last year. So much to discover, so much still to discover about this place. But a track which, while not exactly giving us the greatest Grand Prix last year, I think hasn't really shown us everything that it has to offer just yet. Anyway, drivers have arrived, everybody's in the paddock and raring to go, and much to talk about as we arrive here. Who should we start with? There have been so many drivers we've spoken to today. Jason, who do you think we should start with? He's now talking to Alan van der Merwe, and no, he's going to completely ignore me. Let's start with Valtteri Bottas. I think that's a fair enough place to start. Podium last time out in Canada, P2, but quite a way off race winner Lewis Hamilton. It was an interesting racing in Canada, maybe a slightly quiet one for you. Was it the tyre strategy that left you so far, sort of behind Lewis at the flag?
For sure, it made quite a big difference. Plus, I think I had a bit more traffic and got stuck behind. In the beginning, for sure, I was losing a bit of time behind Verstappen, then behind Ocon. But and the soft definitely didn't improve as we expected. So that's why there was quite a big of a gap. But it's a new weekend here, and for sure we need to try and aim for 1-2, and I would definitely prefer the other way around.
Start of the season, a track like Canada should have hurt Mercedes, and yet you guys were in the ascendancy in the race. Does that bode well for this track, given the nature of it, the number of sort of 90-degree turns and you know, quick little changes of direction?
Yeah, you know, some parts definitely reminds a bit of Canada here. Quite a lot of chicanes, but some bits are a bit like Monaco, some bits are like Monza. So you know, it's so difficult to predict how we're going to be here. But like we've seen this year, you know, it's not so easy for us to sometimes get the car balance right and get a perfect setup for the track. But if we can make that during the practice, then we will be fast.
The team has said they expect the long wheelbase of the car to kind of even out performance over the season. Do you share that optimism?
Yes, I do. You know, there was definitely a lot of reasons why to go for the long wheelbase. We definitely team didn't go for it because if they thought, you know, it would be slower overall. So yeah, I think this track is no drama with a longer wheelbase, and like I said, it's just going to be a matter of getting the setup right, getting the good feeling with the car, and that way, you know, we can get all the tyre compounds to work as well.
It's about this time of the season when people start to look at contracts for next year, putting in the performances that hopefully lead to them being in people's thoughts when we get to August. Are you confident about staying Mercedes? Are you talking to anybody else in case it doesn't happen?
For me, that is still a bit too early, really. I haven't really thought about it, and for sure I haven't spoke with anyone else. So yeah, I'm just very comfortable with the team, and my aim is to have a long-term relationship with the team. But yeah, there's no discussions yet, so maybe later.
Good to hear from Valtteri, who is now being quizzed by Anthony Rowlandson from F1 Racing magazine on the hoof. Yeah, hoping for a good result this weekend, as is his countryman Kimi Raikkonen, who, let's be honest, this year has been sort of cast into that position as I think, you know, secondary driver to Sebastian Vettel as the Scuderia goes for the Formula One World Championship. But how does he feel that his car will be here in Baku? Does he feel he can take the competition to Mercedes? Given the characteristics of this circuit, what kind of a car do you need to be fast around here? And do you think you have that kind of a car under you this weekend?
We'll see, obviously, over the weekend. It's obviously every circuit is different, so you know we end up having the same conversation every Thursday or Friday. So I mean, our car has been strong everywhere, and obviously it's a street circuit, but it's far from normal street circuit. Is, let's say, there's some similarities to Singapore maybe, and you know, it's a long straight, some very narrow parts, but we'll see how it goes. I think last year was quite tricky with the tires for everybody, and at least today is a bit cooler, but it's supposed to heat up a bit on the weekend, so let's see.
The fact, as you say, your car is good everywhere, what does that change about your job, knowing that you can come into a weekend with a car that at its base level you know is good?
Obviously, it's great for the team, but we have a lot of work to do every weekend to try to get the best out of it, because the other teams are not sleeping and they are working hard, and it's the small things that makes a big difference in the end. And when you get it right, then you can be in the front. If you get it a little bit wrong, you might be, I don't know, fifth or something like that. So it's obviously very tricky, and need to keep working hard and improving things, and see how we go.
Now, while all of the race wins this season have been divided between Mercedes and Ferrari, the expected and expectant challenge from Red Bull Racing has thus far not really arisen. That man right there, though, is coming off the back of 3 consecutive podiums in Formula One. A good time then to talk to Daniel Ricciardo, also to his teammate Max Verstappen, not just about this weekend, but with Renault saying that there now won't be a major engine upgrade until 2018. How do they feel about the rest of the season? And with a 2017 championship now only really a pipe dream for these guys, are they thinking of moving elsewhere next season? Is this track going to suit Red Bull Racing?
It won't be ideal, but we try to make the best of the situation.
After Canada, you seemed very frustrated, almost sort of at the end of your tether with the situation. Renault have now said there won't be any major upgrade to the engine until 2018. How does that sit with you? How do you accept that?
I could see it coming already, So for me, it was not a big surprise. So yeah, we just have to deal with the situation.
Could you have imagined at the end of last year that you would find yourself in this situation in 2017, in a car that, unless something incredible happens, is not going to be winning races, at a team that is not fighting for the World Championship?
Well, sometimes, you can have a really good car, sometimes you can have a worse car, I would say. But, the team is really working hard, and I think already the improvements we have been really good. I think also the step we did in Canada again was very positive, and also in the race, I was in second and Bottas was not really challenging me. I was even driving away. So I think in terms of race pace we are not too far off, but it's just in qualifying where you need the power, like the real absolute power. That's where we are still lacking quite a bit. But for sure we can still improve the car a lot. But from where we come from the first race and now, it's already a huge step.
With the power unit in the back of your car, it seems you're hitting a ceiling at the moment. Your career has been on such a swift progression upwards, and now you're stunted. You can't get that next stage, which surely would be the Formula One World Championship. Are you going to have to move teams in order for that to happen?
I don't know. Hopefully, the future looks good at Red Bull. That's where I am at the moment. And to be honest, I never really like to think about what's going to happen for me in the future. I never really did that. I was just living in the moment and living for the year I'm in. I always did that, and it always was alright afterwards. So I'm not too worried, to be honest. I just have to do a good job, and then there will always be a lot of opportunities.
And there are opportunities next year. Mercedes has a seat open, Ferrari has a seat open. Your management has always been very aggressive in pushing you to the right place for your career, to be in the right place at the right time. Would you move if one of those seats came to you, if one of those teams came to you and said, Max, we want you, we'll do everything that we can to get you out of your Red Bull deal?
Like I said, I'm just focused on the season I'm in now. I try to have at least some decent finishes, and I just have to focus on myself to do a good job. And like I said, then there are a lot of opportunities anyway, and then we can make a decision what's going to happen for me in the future.
It's not a no. 3 podiums in a row. Unexpected?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, not that obviously I don't expect it from at least myself, but I guess, you go through, what was it, first 4 races, first 4 or 5 without a podium, and then you're like, okay, we're going to get 3 in a row now. So, but of course, I'm happy to take that. It's been cool, sure you need a little bit of things to fall your way in sometimes, but I feel like we made also those happen as well. But yeah, it's all right. We still want to get better. It's nice to stay on the podium, spray the champagne. Don't get me wrong, I love that. But sure, we still got a big target and to try and close down the red and silver cars.
There's the knowledge that it came because of something that happened to them rather than necessarily something that the team had done to draw you up there. Did that take some of the shine off it at all?
A little bit. I mean, you look at Barcelona and you'd say yes because, okay, I got the podium, but, Bottas had a problem and Lewis and Seb were miles down the road. So we were still pretty realistic after that podium, but for sure Monaco, we felt like we made that happen in the middle of the race. We had the pace at least over Bottas, in obviously a pretty good car. And Canada, sure, Max had his problems, Vettel on the first lap with his wing, but I still had a third to hold on to. And so yeah, we took positives, and I feel like we have closed the gap down since Barcelona. We still got a pretty big step to go, but we are getting there.
How much does the fact that Renault have said there's no big upgrade coming until 2018, how much does that dampen your spirits about the potential for the rest of this season?
My spirits can be softened, they can be rippled, but thou shall never be dampened. So it's all good. It's all good. So yeah, it seems like there's nothing major coming, but don't be fooled by the rocks that they got. They are still bringing some updates. Let's say fine tuning here and there. So even this weekend, I think we got a little bit of tweaks and that. So the current package we don't quite have optimized, and it will continue to be optimized as the season goes on. So we won't stand still. That's what I've been told, and that's what I'm believing and understand. So yeah.
Okay. And looking towards next year, media loves to talk. Media particularly likes to talk
as well.
I know you do, but at the moment they like to talk about the fact you have some pre-contract at Ferrari that you've signed to go there if things don't necessarily go your way from a points perspective at Red Bull Racing. You've got a big smile. You're laughing?
No, I'm laughing.
Is there
the
any?
Italians have just shoved their mic.
There you go.
They hear the word Ferrari and they just slide up. They're like, oh, what's the story?
Is there any truth to that?
No, there's honestly not. And I feel like even if there was, people would expect me to say that. But yeah, there is honestly not. Yeah, it's just a bit of rumours, I guess. And even in Bahrain, they were like adamant. I got to the paddock and there was all these Italian journalists like, yeah, obviously they're just some rumours in F1. And I guess you got to expect that. But no, for everyone listening, they are not true. No worries.
Welcome back to Paddock Pass. Now, last time out at the Canadian Grand Prix, Daniel Ricciardo came home third, took a podium, but it was very nearly a Force India podium. Or was it? I think we came down quite harshly on Sergio Perez at the end of the Grand Prix. We'd heard radio communications from the team asking Checo to move out of the way for his teammate Esteban Ocon to have a pop at Daniel for that podium. Speaking to members of the team today, they've debriefed, they've looked back on it. They don't think in hindsight that Esteban actually had the pace to be able to challenge Daniel anyway. They're happy with their decision not to impose team orders on their drivers. But it was quite an interesting end to the race, even if we were a little bit harsh on Sergio, because we'd only heard partial radio snippets and not the full sort of radio communications between team and driver. Anyway, seems that the relationship is good, but what about the guy who we felt at the time was hard done by that? What about Esteban Ocon? Because it wasn't just the decision not to switch the drivers, which I think had upset Esteban at the end of the last race. It was also, let's say, a sketchy, a debatable defensive position from Sergio Perez on the last lap into the final chicane at Canada that certainly in the aftermath of the race, the Frenchman was not at all happy with. Esteban, following Canada, two questions arise from that. Number one, are you happy now the team has debriefed with the way the race played out, the decision not to switch you guys? And also, obviously, you were a little upset after the race with the move that Sergio had put on you going down into the final chicane.
Yes, so we have debrief after the race. We spoke about everything, and then I also called Sergio during the week when everyone was relaxed. I think it was important to do. We had a good discussion for about 10 minutes, which was very important. So we are all fine together. There is no tension in the team. We'll go back working like before, and there will be plenty of opportunities here again.
it wasn't supposed to be a good race for you guys in Canada, and yet it was. Does that bode well for this track, which seems relatively similar to Canada in some regards?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I thought, it was going to be a good race in Canada. I didn't know it was going to be that good, that we were going to be able to fight with Ferraris and Red Bull. But here, I think looking at last year, what the team has achieved, it can be only promising, and I look forward to see what we can do.
Sergio's been very impressive over his 3 seasons with Force India so far. You've come in and... music plays. Sergio's been very impressive over his 3 years with Force India. You've come in, and even on tracks where you don't know the tracks, for example Monaco and Canada, you've almost been on his pace. Has that surprised you in some ways, that you've been able to match him, and also in Canada, actually run faster than him?
Well, surprised me, no, because I work really hard for that. So I'm not here just to pretend I'm a racing driver. I'm pushing, and that's what I want to do, to be faster than him, obviously. But no, it's encouraged me, because when I will go to tracks where I know, where I've been driving a lot in the previous categories, I will have an advantage. I will be straight away in the pace, and I will be able, to push him and give him a hard time.
Toto Wolff said some very nice words about you after the Canadian race. It's about this time of year that people start to look to the August break and drivers signing possibly for 2018. Are you happy, confident with everything for 2018 at Force India, or are you already thinking about maybe other opportunities that might sit out there for you?
Well, then I'm really happy, first of all, that Toto is saying great things. It's always nice to hear from your boss that he's happy. So I will keep working hard to make him happy and everyone happy around me. And about 2018, I have no idea, to be honest. I'm just focusing on what I'm doing. I'm living the dream at the moment. I'm in Formula One, scoring points at every race, fighting with awesome drivers. No, I will keep pushing, and we will see. If you do good result, there is always a seat available for you.
Thanks, Esteban. All seemingly okay at Force India then, or is it? I don't know. Esteban seemed a little tight, a little stiff, not his usual loose self. So anyway, we'll see how that plays out on a track which could suit Force India this weekend, as of course they did so well in Canada, this relatively similar circuit. Lots of interesting teammate dynamics in the paddock this weekend. Big news down at Sauber. Manisha Kaltenborn has gone. A difference of opinion in the way in which the team is moving forward, allegedly, according to the team owners and major sponsors. Also some suggestions that one driver is being preferred over another, that driver being Marcus Ericsson. Comments to the press today, Ericsson saying he didn't believe that at all. His teammate Pascal Wehrlein refusing to comment. So a little bit of needle down there at Sauber, and also following Canada, some needle down at Toro Rosso. If you saw the grid walk, we commented on it then. Carlos Sainz very unhappy that his teammate Daniil Kvyat had used his slipstream to gain a quick lap, but then hadn't allowed Carlos to do the same. War of words has erupted between those two. What does Daniil Kvyat think about it? What are his feelings on his relationship with Carlos Sainz as we arrive here in Baku? After Canada, there seems to be some, should we say, needle between yourself and Carlos in terms of working as teammates. Certainly that's been reported in the press. How are things working inside the team? Are the press blowing it out of all proportion?
Well, first of all, you're right. It's been obviously a bit heated topic, I guess, but we try, especially myself, to keep the things behind the closed door, and that's what I hope will be done in the future. At least from my side, I have always tried hard to keep it inside the house, and that's what is going to be done. I think everything has been said already, and we will just move on from here onwards, and everyone, I think, will focus on its own job. There is no time for playing anything. We're just going to do our job. I just came here to drive the car in the end.
Okay, so I mean, you said you wanted to keep it behind closed doors, but it doesn't sound incredibly harmonious between the two of you at the moment. Could that affect the team's sort of movement forward if you're both driving individually rather than together as a unit?
I think Formula One is generally, once you're on track, is quite an individual sport, and it's always been. To be honest, it's not like we've been doing anything particularly together. We've just been we go out on track and you drive your car as fast as you can, and this is not going to change. And I think everything has been discussed in the closed doors, and we want to keep it inside the team matter inside the team.
Is this reflective of the fact that you, as Red Bull drivers, are always very much under pressure for your seats for next year? There's a big raft of other young drivers wanting to get into Toro Rosso for next season, and we would get towards August, the time in which people talk about contracts, talk about 2018. You and Carlos are fighting for your seats.
Actually, I don't feel this, to be honest. All this, I don't know. I don't see anything happening behind my shoulders, to be honest. I always came here to do my job and drive the car, and it's has always been. And from my side, to be honest, everything has been very clear. On Saturday after the Canada, something has not been clear, and I just had given my reply. But from now on, I think the topic is closed and we move on. Simple as that. There is nothing really more to discuss, and these things, in terms of driving and performance, it's not going to change anything.
Now, in the battle for the midfield, Haas Formula One team are having let's say, an interesting season. Struggle with reliability at the start, got their first two-car finish a little earlier this season in Monaco, as I recall. But how does Romain Grosjean think their season is going? How does he think they'll fare this weekend? And as a driver who's been with the team since day one, what does he see at the team, the way in which they've developed over their almost year and a half in the sport? Romain, here we are in Azerbaijan. Is this a track that's going to suit the Haas?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer quite now, but I'm hoping that it's going to be a great track for us. We've got a few updates on the car, and hopefully that's going to give us a bit of an advantage over the midfield, which is very, very tight, and we can get to Q3 and score some good points.
How hard is it to gauge whereabouts you stand in the midfield, given that it seems to just change and flow every track we come to?
Yeah, it twists around every track, and we know that Force India and Williams are pretty ahead, but then between Renault, Toro Rosso and ourselves is very tight. So when you've got two Mercedes, two Ferraris, two Red Bull, there's already 6th position in qualifying, and then you've got two Force India, that's 8, and then two Williams, that's top 10. So it's really tight and really tough for us to get there, and we have to get the best of the car and make sure that we actually overperform. But I'm hoping that some good work this weekend and a cool track will help us to do that.
We're almost a year and a half into the Haas programme. How much have things changed from your first day at the team to now, just in terms of, sort of processes, the way the team works? Have you seen changes?
Yeah, there's been big changes, and yeah, I mean the whole team works much better, and this year we've had a few races where we didn't have the performance to score points, but with the operational side of it, the good strategy and the right call at the right time, we managed to score points. We've been more consistent. Yes, there's been a few races where we haven't been as good as we wanted, but the team is more consistent. We're working more together. We've got more idea what to do, and everyone was expecting that year too was going to be very tough for us. And actually, we were here in the midfield fighting better than we were last year, and not judging an unexpected good performance to score points.
We're at that time of year where people start to think about where everyone's going to be racing in 2018. Is that something that you're thinking about at the moment, how your performances are being judged? Are you looking to move elsewhere? Are you happy where you are?
Well, I'm very happy at Haas, but I want to become world champion one day, and there's very few cars where you can achieve that. But I think time will tell, and I'm not in a rush to do anything, and I'm very happy in the team. I'm very proud of what we've built together. And I think it's, I said last year it's a once of a lifetime experience, and it's still the case, because if I see the car today being able to score points, being in Q3, I'm like, yeah, this is a big part of the job I've done and helped the team, and of course not myself only, but everyone, and getting trying to be the locomotive of a good train and move forward. And I'm hoping that future is even brighter, and then I'm going to be like, well, that's what we've done together.
Romain Grosjean, then clearly happy at Haas, and I don't think looking to go anywhere else for 2018. Right, next on the list, Stoffel van Dorn. Not an easy start to his full Formula One career. The problems with Honda at McLaren, self-evident every single weekend. He's already had grid drops. They've got new elements on the engine this weekend. It doesn't look good, because as soon as you add more elements to that engine, it's a guaranteed grid drop. So Stoffel van Dorn, weekend's not even started, and already looking like it's going to be a very tough weekend in Baku. Will you be starting this race from the back row?
I'll be competing with Fernando for the back row, but yeah, I have a 15 place grid penalty, I think. So if we qualify in the top 4, then I'm not starting from the back row.
Well, if you qualify 4th, you're still on the back row.
But then I'll qualify 3rd.
How hard is that for you, coming into every weekend knowing that you're going to be starting at the back? Any advances potentially that you make on that engine could thus be hidden by where you have to start?
Well, I think it's not really that different to the start of the earlier races this season. Let's say it's been a difficult start all the way, and unfortunately this is the situation we're in. But yeah, we're trying to do our best with the team. We're trying to get on top of the issues, and hopefully we will start to see some improvements. Baku is a street circuit, but it's a very different type of street circuit. It has the longest straights on the calendar, 2 kilometers flat out, and we know it's probably not the most favorable track for us. So yeah, we're not really making any predictions, and we just gotta keep our head down and try and make the most of it.
You're a GP2 champion, but you had a year off other than for that one Grand Prix. How difficult and what are the difficulties that you found in terms of adapting your driving style to these cars, the situation that you're in with a difficult car?
Well, I didn't have a year off. I was racing in Japan. In between, I did a Grand Prix as well, where I scored a point. So I haven't been sitting at home and eating chocolates. So yeah, I mean, I think Formula One has changed quite a lot this year, and I'm confident that in my driving I've won a lot of championships before, I won a lot of races before, and doing a lot of work with the team as well now to learn as much as possible from this generation of cars, and I think at the moment we're not really in a position to compete for anything, but it's still, for me, every weekend I'm learning so much new things, gaining more experience, and yeah, I think hopefully that will pay soon.
I read some comments, I think they might have been from Eric, where he said that the team had been putting the ideal setup on the car and you'd been trying to adapt yourself to that, but that you'd gained some confidence to be able to tell the team, actually I'd rather have it this way and change things. Is that accurate, and are you gaining that confidence to have the car the way that you want it? Yeah, it is. I mean, we've kind of been opening up a little bit toward each other, and I think it's very normal when you start your first season in Formula One, try to build that relationship with your engineers, with the team, and I think I've come in with my own driving style, my natural driving style, which is a bit different to what the engineers have been working with, and I think I'm actually very similar to how Lewis is driving, how Seb is driving, and I think it's just a matter of time to find that sweet spot. And I know when you can't drive 100% like you want to, when you're not feeling 100% comfortable, then it's very difficult. But I'm getting there. Every time I go out on track, we're understanding a lot more, getting to grips with how to deal with some of the issues, and it's only a matter of time. If I can ask one more, if that's okay. How is your driving style similar to Seb's and Lewis? Is that about late braking, about the amount of speed that you're carrying through the corners? But in what ways do you find you're similar? In what ways do you drive? For me, it's the braking that is very important. I need to get that confidence to brake very, very deep into the corner, and if you're not 100% confident on that aspect, that's where the corner starts really. It's and everything kind of follows from there. But yeah, I mean, we're growing toward each other, and it's getting in the good direction now. For this final part of Paddock Pass, a driver who is an ambassador for this racetrack here in Baku, Azerbaijan. Fernando Alonso has been in all the headlines this year. Not all of them happy, of course. As we heard from Stoffel van Dorn, big problems at McLaren that don't look like they're going to be getting any easier throughout this year. He, of course, had that wonderful run at the Indy 500, but even that ended in disappointment thanks to Honda. Poor old Fernando. When's he going to catch a break? Anyway, we up there, actually, earlier today, Jean-Michel, up on the top of that hotel over there. We caught up with Fernando, had a lovely long chat with him. Starting about Azerbaijan, but then just a wider context of life in general and Fernando Alonso Spec 2017. Fernando, we're back in Azerbaijan. What made you want to become an ambassador for this place and this race?
Well, I think because it's a very unique place. It's not another Formula One event. This is a unique place in the middle of the street, probably a city that is an unknown city for many of us before coming here last year. And the circuit itself is very unique, with a very tiny part, where you hardly can put your car in, between the two walls, very narrow and very slow section. And then you have the longest straight of the championship, with the maximum speeds of the championship. Everything on a city, in a normal day life. So that put Baku, I think, in a different level, and I like to come here.
How do you perfect a lap around this circuit? As you said, there's so many different elements to it.
I think it's more a challenge for the engineers, how they set up the car, or you put the car faster on the corners and on the slow section of the circuit, or you make a car that is faster on the straight with the less drag possible. But I think the time lap is always similar, but you need to choose which one you take more importance. And also in race situation, the fuel consumption is quite high here, so you need to think about, in advance what you will need on Sunday, and what you will need also to put the tires on temperature. So all these factors, make very challenging circuit for the engineers.
Challenging circuit, challenging weekend for you guys. Everything you've just said, high fuel consumption, long straight. Are you expecting a difficult one?
A very difficult one. Also, I think in Canada we had engine failure, so likely we will have penalties here. So we will start from the back. As you said, with the lack of speed, etc., will be a difficult race behind the group.
Every time you get an engine development now from Honda, you're going to get a grid penalty. Does that mean that any progress Honda makes might be hidden by the fact you're going to have to start pretty much every race from last?
I don't think so. I think we will still have, the advantage of the extra power or the upgrades that they can bring to the race. Let's say that even if we don't have the penalty, we will start from the mid to back positions. Normally, if we are not in Q3, so starting last is not a bigger penalty for us, teams that we are not competitive compared to the top guys. That instead of starting in the first two rows of the grid, they could start last, and that's a big thing, a big impact in the race. For us, starting 14th or 19th probably will not change too much if we deliver the extra power. So any updates are very welcome.
You're Fernando Alonso. How do you cope with starting races 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, row 10? How do you cope with that?
Well, it's not easy. I think the last couple of years, the 2 years and a half here, and arguably the last 2 years also in Ferrari, where we had some of the biggest difficulties of the last 5 years there, put me in a 4 years difficulties, and that's very frustrating. But at the same time, nothing you can do. A part of being a little bit upset that Sunday afternoon after the race, but during the week you need to work at the same routine with the engineers, with the team preparing the next race, and try to work all together. So it's a test, in the middle of my career, to be calm and to learn how to work again, from a very beginning stage on a project, to grow up together. So it's what we are trying to do in the last couple of years. First with Jenson in the team, and now with Stoffel. But hopefully that could change soon.
We saw you watching the Le Mans 24 Hours at the weekend. Is it 4 out of the 5 LMP1 cars retired with engine problems? Have we made things too complicated with hybrid engines, do you think?
They are very complicated, that's for sure. But I think it was a very strange casualty, because they run quite okay normally in the races. For this is the endurance championship, and they don't have those many problems. But it was true that it was a dramatic race, and that probably could could be let's say a way to move forward, not only for them, also to Formula One, to make sure that the spectators, they don't care too much about what is inside that engine cover, and they just want to see the cars competing and the cars running, and I think we need to make the people watching the TV or the people on the grandstand happy, not only the engineers and the computers happy.
You experienced that at the Indy 500, a field of 33 cars that all looked pretty similar. Guys from the outside can't really tell the differences between them. Was that exciting for you, just to have that raw base racing back again?
Yeah, I think it's a winning formula. We know that in GP2, GP3, IndyCar, as long as everyone has the same chassis, that you just make the difference with the setup or with the develop that your team can do in small areas, the damping areas and things like that. And then you have similar engines, so 2 or 3 manufacturers that they have to deliver a similar power. I think that produces always good racing. We know that Formula One will never go to that way, because this is Formula One and all the big manufacturers that come here just to show their potential and just to beat other companies, and it's difficult to put everything on a balance. But definitely I think on the future, and I know that Ross Brown and all the team is working to make Formula One spectacular again, and to make Formula One as close as possible between the teams.
Will you be here when it is?
I don't know, probably not, because that will take time. I think to Formula One, as I said, will be always different, because if not, Mercedes will not be here, Ferrari will not be here, Renault will not be here, if it's the same performance from all the cars. So everyone wants to develop his own technology and wants to invest in their own philosophy. So that's the way Formula One is. But in my case, which is completely independent to this, hopefully we can be next year here and winning. That's for sure. Whatever decision I will take later in the year will be to win next year.
It's a big decision, and you said that if McLaren was winning by September, you'd stay. Realistically, do you honestly believe McLaren will be winning by September?
Probably not.
So McLaren's out for next year then?
No, I will say that if McLaren is winning by September, that will make easier, any decision, because you will stay. You know that the team is competitive and you want to stay. If McLaren is not winning by September, they need to convince you, in a different way that they will win. But I'm in a position now in my career that probably I will not make a decision based on hopes, what is going to happen next year, and there are big hopes that this will improve, or there are big hopes there because they are investing, and the first results on the wind tunnel, they look promising. I will not take the decision for any hopes anymore. I will make a very safe decision.
You went to America, stepped into a car that was capable of winning a race first time out. That's a certainty. That's a certainty. Does that make a decision of possibly leaving here to go and do that easier?
Probably not. I don't think that at the moment, my priority is Formula One, and obsession is Formula One, to win the third World Championship, and that will be my decisions will be based, into this idea. If here, I think that I will not win next year with the possibilities that I have, then I will think differently. But at the moment, I'm not even thinking of anything. So we'll see in September, October.
Why is the third title so important to you?
It's not only the third title. I think it's just before saying bye-bye to Formula One, I will not say bye-bye in Q1. I will say bye-bye winning.
So that's your lot from Paddock Pass this week. Hope you've enjoyed it. Here are your times for this weekend, so you don't miss any of the action from here in Baku. We are hoping for a slightly more exciting race than we had last year. It's an incredibly challenging track. How will these new, faster, wider, physical cars cope on this very twisty, tricky track? How much will that long straight enable, hopefully, some decent overtaking this weekend? All of that to be found out. Don't miss any of it. Thanks for following along. And cheers. See you later.